From ring gear to everyday wear, a wrestling series. Hi everyone, I'm at Goodwill and Joann Fabrics. I wanted this outfit to be made majority of secondhand items, but unfortunately Goodwill didn't have everything I needed, so I bought the rest of my materials from Joann Fabrics. For this outfit, I will be incorporating Jade's bustier, bottoms, and her signature triangles, which are a staple in all of her ring gears, and I'll be making a very detailed dress. The materials I got from Goodwill are a black tablecloth, a black silk fitted sheet, black pleather leggings that I didn't use for this project, but I did end up using them for the next one, and a black tiered dress that has a lot of good stretchy mesh on the top layer. And from Joann Fabrics, I got 3 yards of gold metallic fabric, 3 yards of black pleather fabric, 5 packs of gold eyelets. I did have to go out and buy 2 more packs, and a spool of gold metallic thread. First, I'll be working on the bustier. I found a bra pattern called the Maya bra, printed it out, and extended the length of the bodice 3 inches long. Of the bustier, I'm cutting out 2 pieces each of the side and back panels and the right side of the bra cups out of the black tablecloth. On the black pleather fabric, I'm cutting 1 center panel on fold, 2 bra cup strips, and 2 center bra cup pieces, making sure to cut the notches in each pattern. Because the pleather material is a little thin, I've ironed on fusible interfacing to each piece for more structure. To form the bra cups, match the notches right sides together and sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Match the notch of the bra strip to the center seam of the bra cup and sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once that is sewn, because it is a curve, cut snippets vertically along the seam, but make sure not to cut through the stitch. This creates ease and allows the seam to lay flat. Place the side panels onto the center panel and sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Next, I sew the back panel onto the side panel, and lastly, I sew the back center panel onto the back panel with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. To make the lining for the bustier, I just repeat all the steps I've done up until this point. I cut 10 evenly spaced holes on the side panels of both the bustier and the lining. These will be for the eyelets. When making the triangle patterns, I just freehand different shape and sizes and add seam allowances to each one. It's going to take a while, so in the meantime, let's play a game to see how well you know Jade. It's only one question, here we go. What do the triangles on Jade's ring gear represent? A. Breaking glass ceilings, B. Jade's love for geometry, or C. It's her favorite shape. You have 10 seconds to answer.
Breaking glass, guys. I'm here to break glass ceilings. That's what I do.
Once I cut out the triangle patterns, I then transfer them onto the metallic fabric, which is on triple fold. This means that when I cut out each triangle, I'll be cutting multiple pieces at once. Here are the finished triangles. I did end up having to make a lot more, and unfortunately, it took up way more time than I had planned. I'm arranging the triangles onto the center panel of the bustier. Then I would top stitch them in place. Top stitching the triangles went much quicker than I thought. For the most part, I just sewed a continuous stitch, meaning I went from triangle to triangle without cutting the thread, which saved me a lot of time. Just like the center panel, I top stitched the triangles onto the bra cups. Then I matched the center seams of the bra cups to the center seams of the bodice and sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This creates the bustier. Here I'm showing an animation of me adding the triangles to the straps. I then attach the straps to the front and back of the bustier. The bustier is nearly complete. I've added the eyelets, the straps, and have attached the lining. All that's left is for me to add the eyelets to the back panels so that I can lace up the bustier, and I'll be doing that off camera. On to the skirt. I'll be using my skirt pattern and modifying it into 4 sections total: the skirt top, middle side panel, bottom skirt panel, and center skirt panel. Here are all 4 pieces of the modified skirt pattern. Of the dress I got from Goodwill, I will only be using the top layer, which has a lot of good stretchy mesh material. From that, I'll be cutting 4 pieces total of the middle side pattern. Unfortunately, I did cut the rest of the skirt pieces off camera. Attach the middle side panels to the bottom skirt panels and sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. To create the ruffles, I first changed the stitch length settings on my sewing machine to number 5, that being the longest one. I then sew a base stitch a 1/2 inch away from the edge of the strip, making sure to leave a tail of thread at the end. Using the tail of thread at the end of the strip, lightly pull the strip until it is completely gathered. This creates the ruffle. Once you are done, make sure to tie a knot at the end of the thread. I'm showing the ruffles being placed on the mesh panels, but I ended up sewing them to the skirt top panel instead. I've attached the ruffles to the skirt top panel. Next, I'm going to place the mesh panels onto the skirt top panel and sew with the 1/2 inch seam allowance. Just like the bustier, I'm cutting out evenly spaced holes along both sides of the top skirt panel. These will be for the eyelets. I'm cutting out fusible interfacing for the front and back center skirt panels. I then iron this onto the back side of the panels to give them more structure. I'm arranging the triangles evenly across the center panel for the skirt. Because the triangles kept shifting, I first pinned them in small increments and then I would top stitch them in place. I repeat this until I've reached the end of the panel. Place the side skirt panels onto the center panel and sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm adding a lining to the center panel, so I first have to fold in the skirt side panels towards the middle. This is so I can have access to the center panel seams. I then place the center panel lining and sew close the sides and bottom with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, making sure to leave the top open so I can turn it inside out. This is how the center panel looks after I've added the lining. Place the back center panel onto the back side skirt panel and sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I then repeat this to the other side. Place the back pieces right sides together and sew where the zipper stops at all the way down to the bottom of the skirt. Place the back skirt piece right sides together onto the front skirt piece and sew close the sides with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here I'm pinning the zipper along the back opening of the skirt. Then I'm sewing it in place. The bustier was a little too long, so I ended up having to cut off 1.5 inches from the bottom. To form the dress, I attached the bustier right sides together onto the skirt, making sure that all the seams match up evenly. I then sew that in place with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I've added some ruffles to the hem of the dress, then I top stitched them in place. To finish off the dress, I made a bunch of cording from the pleather fabric, laced up all of the eyelets, and tied it into a bow. To complete this look, I've made a matching hat and of course added my signature butterflies, which you will see now in the final reveal.